వెల్కమ్ టు దిస్ సాక్షి టీవీ స్పెషల్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ. ప్రపంచం ఎంత వేగంగా మారుతున్నా కుటుంబ విలువలు, సంస్కృతి, సమాజ సేవలను ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్తున్న మహిళలు సమాజానికి నిజమైన ప్రేరణగా నిలుస్తున్నారు. ఈ రోజు మనతో ముగ్గురు ప్రత్యేక అతిథులు కూడా ఉన్నారు. వారు సమాజ సేవ, అలాగే కమ్యూనిటీ అభివృద్ధి, అలాగే వ్యాపారం, విద్యా రంగాల్లో విశేష సేవలు అందిస్తూ భారతీయ సంస్కృతిని ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా విస్తరించేందుకు విశేష కృషి చేస్తున్నారు. సో కమ్యూనిటీ అభివృద్ధి, మహిళా సాధికారత కోసం ఎన్నో కార్యక్రమాలు చేపట్టిన సామాజిక కార్యకర్త ఉషా హెగ్డే గారు ఉన్నారు. హలో మ్యామ్.
హలో.
అలాగే వ్యాపార ప్రణాళికలు, లీగల్ స్ట్రాటజీ మరియు కమ్యూనిటీ నాయకత్వంలో అనుభవం ఉన్న బిజినెస్ ప్రొఫెషనల్ మరియు అటార్నీ నీలు కోలుగుట్ల గారు ఉన్నారు. నమస్తే మ్యామ్.
నమస్తే.
అలాగే ఎడ్టెక్ రంగంలో 2 దశాబ్దాల అనుభవంతో పాటు కమ్యూనిటీ సేవల్లో ముందుండే నాయకురాలు శిరీష గారు కూడా మనతో పాటు ఉన్నారు. హలో మ్యామ్.
నమస్తే.
వెల్కమ్ టు అవర్ షో మ్యామ్. సో
థాంక్
ముందుగా శిరీష గారి దగ్గర నుండి స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం. శిరీష మ్యామ్, మీరు చెప్పండి, ఎడ్టెక్ రంగంలో మీ జర్నీ ఎలా సాగుతుంది మ్యామ్?
It is going good. నేను EdTech company we started 20 years ago అండి. When we first started our business. దాంట్లో the gap we found was like working professionals and university మధ్యలో gap remove చేయడానికి we built our first platform. Me and my husband, we both worked together. And then అది అయిన తర్వాత ఇంకొక ఎగ్జామ్ ప్రాక్టరింగ్ కంపెనీ బిల్డ్ చేసాము. Both of that we sold it, and right currently I'm working on a transportation company, Whistle Drive, India-based company, Andy. So that's how I started my journey, and I'm continuing my journey. And now I'm also part of National India Hub, a big non-profit organization based off of Chicago.
Okay. Usha ma'am, మీరు చెప్పండి, how did your journey evolve from being in IT professional to social entrepreneur?
Namaste. Thank you, Chandrika, for having me here. So basically, it all goes back to my childhood. How I wanted to do something for society. Since I know about it, and we came here to Chicago in 1999, and I think that was a big turning point. I felt like it's always the time for giving back, to society, and I am very closely connected to the villages. I grew up in a joint family in the city, but I think my connection with the village was very strong. So I have seen the base part of the village life, and as well as the issues over there. So I always wanted to give back, and that's how it started.
Okay, Nilma ma'am, how has your experience in business and law helped you in community leadership, ma'am?
Yeah, great question. So actually, most community organizations in the US are actually nonprofit businesses. And so in order to provide any kind of services or to do any kind of meaningful projects at a scale that serve the community, it's very important to actually know how to run these projects in a way that is very sustainable, much like you would run a business. So having a business background and having project management skills have been very instrumental and very helpful and meaningful services to the community.
Okay.
Similarly, on the legal side, in the US, everything is very systematized. There are certain governing laws at the local, state, and federal level that regulate how certain things can be done in various sectors of society. So being a lawyer, having sensitivity to those regulations and laws helps me to serve some of these nonprofit organizations.
Okay. శిరీష గారు, ఇండియా హబ్ వంటి కమ్యూనిటీ సంస్థల్లో మీరు చేస్తున్న కార్యక్రమాల గురించి చెప్పండి.
India Hub is a big organization, non-profit organization. మా సోల్ గోల్ ఏంటంటే we want to have a place. So మేమందరము ఇక్కడ షికాగోలో ఉన్నాము ఆర్ అబ్రాడ్ ఉన్నాము, ఎనీబడి, రైట్? So for us, India Hub is our home. So we cannot fly 24 hours, go to India and come back. So our goal is to have a place where it feels home for us. And more than that, our core pillars are to give back to the community. Like giving back to the community could be anyways, right? So our big things are educational courses chestamu, cultural activities untayi, language classes, because ikkada we don't, other than English, we don't learn our home languages, especially the kids don't learn their mother's tongue, right? So adi arts and crafts, and a gap between kids, adults and grandparents, right? So we have a lot of senior activities happening at India Hub. We encourage them to come here because they are at home, and they come here and spend time together. So it feels as their home for them. So senior activities, we do a lot of senior activities, free health fairs, clinics, ఇట్లాంటివన్నీ మేజర్ ఇంపాక్ట్ఫుల్ ఐటమ్స్ అన్ని చేస్తామండి ఇండియా హబ్ లో.
ఓకే. ఉషా గారు మీరు చెప్పండి. వాట్ ఇన్‌స్పైర్డ్ యూ టు స్టార్ట్ ఇనిషియేటివ్ లైక్ USKIDS ఫర్ వాటర్ అండ్ స్మార్ట్ సాక్షి?
Smart Sakhi, yes. Thank you. So basically, I've been, volunteering myself with, multiple, organizations since I came here. So in 2003, I was working with IDCA, IDS, and all, and I learned a lot of things from there. And I do, bring community together and do a lot of projects. So I'll bring in my community. We all will go to feed my starving kids. Such kind of organizations are there where we used to go and volunteer ourselves. So and I do work, in India. We have started our own library, our own computer center. So in 2010 we started a few things over there. So in 2016 I was in India, and there was a big drought in Maharashtra. So working in the, few villages there, very closely, we could feel the issues there. So I came back, and few neighboring kids I gathered in my basement, and I told them, hey, this is what's happening, how can we help them? And we sold chocolates. We were like started with 11 or 12 childrens, in my neighborhood. Within a month or 2 months of span, it became 70 students who joined our mission that time. And we sold chocolates of like $2,000. So it's like, just the kids did everything. So I kind of like just mentor and guide them. So we send that money back to India. They did a lot of work there and all with the Pani Foundation.
Okay.
And the kids are like, auntie, we do not want to stop, we want to keep working on this. And we were working for water that time, and I never thought I want to do any organization. But when the money starts coming in, it becomes like, you have to answer where the money goes and all. So we had to start an organization. So we started US Kids for Water, because we were working with the kids in the United States and for the water. So that's how it started. But now we are in everything. We are in, our students are right, they work into the health, education, environment, and multiple other projects. So
Oh,
when I was working on something like this, and India also, I do a lot of things in India. I have a lot of social projects started there.
super.
So in 2017, some of the moms, from my village, they are like, why do you do so much for our kids? Why can't you help us also something? And that's how started the Smart Sakhi.
ఓకే మ్యామ్. సూపర్. నీలిమ గారు చెప్పండి మీరు. అంటే వాట్ ఇనిషియేటివ్స్ హావ్ యూ బీన్ మోస్ట్ ప్రౌడ్ ఆఫ్ ద యుఎస్ ఇండియా ఛాంబర్ ఆఫ్ కామర్స్?
Yeah. So I served as the president of the US India Chamber of Commerce, based out of Dallas, for 7 years. And then I have served as a board member for the last 5 years. And the projects that I've been, actually, there are many projects, but I'll share 3 with you specifically. We started a women's conference 10 years ago. And the women's conference was actually, I envisioned it to help inspire women who wanted to rise in leadership or wanted to take an entrepreneurial step, but didn't have confidence to do it. We wanted to give them the confidence, give them the inspiration to keep growing and going in whatever direction that they wanted to go and grow in. So the first year, we thought maybe 150 women would come to this conference. That was our goal and plan. And even for that, women said, oh, you're doing it in the middle of the week. I'm not sure I can make it. I cannot leave my job, this and that. But in spite of that, we hosted the first conference, and we got 150 women, and it was a small sold out conference. Subsequently, year after year, every year, we kind of understood what it is that is a challenge for women. What is a barrier for women in realizing their full potential? So we started bringing speakers who spoke to the types of challenges and problems, and who had overcome those challenges and problems and grew into leadership. So CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies who were women. We brought startup founders of companies that had grown to multiple $100 million, and they exited those companies, but entirely women run, women led. We brought small businesses, and they spoke about the challenges that they were facing or how they grew from 1 customer to 10 customers. So at every level, whether somebody was growing professionally as into a CEO position or a C-suite position like a CMO or a CIO or whatever, or whether they were choosing to be an entrepreneur, we started addressing all of those needs to the point where 10 years later,
Okay.
we had 500 women in the room, completely sold out, and more women saying, I want to attend this conference because so many people are getting value. And what are they getting out of that? They're getting mentorship. They're learning insights. They're getting inspired. They're networking with other women who are professionals or business leaders. And they are building their network, because finally we all succeed only when we help each other to succeed. So this conference has become a must attend in Dallas. It's actually one of the largest women's conferences of any community in Dallas that is taking place, and it happens annually. And that is actually one of the initiatives I'm most proud of. Another project that we did is actually through the US India Chamber Foundation. So during 2021, when India was affected by the Delta wave, we felt, sitting in Dallas, we have a large Indian community here, we thought we should do something to help
Okay.
Bharat. Yeah. And so at that time, we thought, what can we do? And we had our own experience from 2020. We knew how our community had been impacted by COVID. We knew the challenges, how hospitals would be impacted, how doctors would be impacted, equipment would be not sufficient to meet the demand of the patients. So we collectively came together, and I led a project where we raised over $2 million collectively from community members and business leaders and everybody to actually provide oxygen concentrators and actually ventilators. And we were able to provide that in real time during the pandemic, as it was happening, as different states were being affected by the Delta wave. We were able to actually deliver concentrators and ventilators to hospitals, to doctors, to nonprofit organizations. At the time, the Red Cross was very active working with the Prime Minister's office. So we were able to get them this life-saving equipment in time, and working with, it was a huge logistics project, and we were able to get it to 13 different states at that time, and several dozen or so nonprofit organizations and nonprofit hospitals. So, and that again is when I talk about, understanding the legal landscape and understanding the business landscape, as Ushaji was saying, knowing where every single penny is going that somebody is giving you, manage a 2 million plus project and knowing where every penny is going is a very big challenge. But that is something that every penny was accounted for. And finally, in the end, we delivered over 1,000 oxygen concentrators, I think almost 135 ventilators. And then we also were able to help fund the construction of 1 full oxygen generation plant next to a hospital, and we supplemented the funds for 2 additional oxygen generation plants across India. So it was a massive undertaking, but also it gave us a great deal of satisfaction. And then the community in Texas also felt that we were able to do something in time to help people in India, our own communities back in India. So it was very meaningful.
సూపర్ మ్యామ్. శిరీష గారు, మీరు చెప్పండి. అంటే విదేశాల్లో భారతీయ సంస్కృతి నిలబెట్టడానికి కమ్యూనిటీ పాత్ర ఎంత వరకు ఉంది అంటారు?
I would say చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ పార్ట్ ఉందండి. అండ్ ద బెటర్ వే టు సే ఇట్ ఇస్ హౌ డు వి వాట్ ఈస్ ద బెటర్ వే టు గెట్ దెమ్ ఇన్వాల్వ్. ఎందుకంటే డే టు డే లైఫ్లో దే డూ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద అబ్రాడ్ కల్చర్స్. మన ఇండియన్ కమ్యూనిటీ ఆర్ ఇండియన్ కల్చర్లో వాళ్ళకి ద ప్రెజెన్స్ ఇస్ లెస్, రైట్? సో ఇట్లాంటి ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్లో ఇఫ్ దే గెట్ ఇన్వాల్వ్డ్, then they get to know more about the culture and how to do community service. Community service ikkada chala mandi, like anni schools lo, that's a bigger part, right? In different ways you do different community services. So that's how you get involved into it. ఇండియా హబ్‌లో మనకి స్పెసిఫిక్‌గా చూడాలి అనంటే కల్చరల్ కమ్యూనిటీ ఇది ఉంటుంది. సో, మనకి ద బిగ్గెస్ట్ థింగ్ దట్ ఐ అబ్జర్వ్ ఈస్ మిస్సింగ్ ద ఫ్యామిలీ, ఎక్స్‌టెండెడ్ ఫ్యామిలీ.
ఓకే.
సో, ఫ్యామిలీ అంటే నేను, అమ్మ, నాన్న ఉంటారు. బ్రదర్స్, సిబ్లింగ్స్ ఉంటారు. కాకపోతే ఎక్స్‌టెండెడ్ ఫ్యామిలీ మనకి ఇండియాలో ఉన్నట్టు ఉండదు. అదే ఇప్పుడు మనం ఇక్కడికొస్తే యూ విల్ సీ లాట్ ఆఫ్ నోన్ ఫెమిలియర్ ఫేసెస్, రైట్? సో, దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ విల్ ఫార్మ్ అ ఫ్యామిలీ ఫర్ దెమ్. మా ఇంట్లో మా మదర్ ఇన్ లా, మా అమ్మ, నేను, మా హస్బెండ్ అని ఇద్దరు పిల్లలు ఉంటాము. బట్ నాట్ ఎవ్రీబడీ హ్యాస్ దట్ ఆపర్చునిటీ టు లివ్ విత్ ద గ్రాండ్ పేరెంట్స్,
కరెక్ట్.
లెర్న్ అబౌట్ దెమ్ అండ్ ఆల్ దట్, రైట్? సో, ఇట్లాంటి కమ్యూనిటీ సర్వీసెస్ చేస్తే వన్ థింగ్ ఈజ్ లైక్ హోమ్‌లో యూ హ్యావ్ యువర్ ఓన్ సేఫ్టీ నెట్ ఆఫ్ హౌ యూ గ్రో అప్, how you are pampered and all that. But when you go outside, that is the real world. And by giving the community service, I personally how they will learn how the outside world is. They'll go out for colleges, they'll learn everything, but doing that community service will give them a wide awakening of what the true world is.
ఓకే మ్యామ్. మీరు చెప్పండి ఉషా గారు. అంటే వాట్ ఛాలెంజెస్ డిడ్ యూ ఫేస్ వైల్ బ్రింగింగ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అండ్ టెక్నాలజీ టు రూరల్ కమ్యూనిటీస్?
Yeah, good question. I think the very important point here is that the parents of these the children who we work with, they themselves are not very well educated, so they don't understand the importance of like the education, right? So first convincing them, making sure that the children comes on the time, because all the programs which we run, they happens after the school. So when children are home, we have thousands of volunteers who do online calling to this, and so the phone has to be there and all. So I think another big challenge we find is after the parents, this one is the digital the problems. Like for example, sometimes in the house, in the household, there'll be only one phone, and they will take the phone out whenever they go out. They forget that my child has a class today, right, and all. So that kind of problems we definitely felt, was an issue. And some of the students are really good, they'd go to their neighbors, this one, and they'll take the phone and all. But yeah, that kind of things. And of course the communication. So like the volunteers, when we connect from here to India, they are very on time. So I think the communication, from the both the sides, and especially from the India side, it's not really on time. So sometimes kids do not want to take class, but they forget to tell, or they just ignore it and all. And then our volunteer like sitting there, nobody's coming, I'm standing here and all. So I think the communication part, but we are working on it, and we do explain these issues to our volunteers when we onboard them. We very very clearly tell them these are the major issues you will face. So patience is the key when you want to serve anywhere or take classes, or help in rural villages. Patience is the key. So those are the issues, I think.
నీలిమ గారు, హౌ డు యూ సీ బిజినెస్ ఆపర్చునిటీస్ గ్రోయింగ్ బిట్వీన్ ఇండియా అండ్ యునైటెడ్ స్టేట్స్?
Yeah, there's so much opportunity right now between India and the United States, and it's only going to continue to grow because Indian economy is growing. The number of consumers in India is also growing. And then the United States is also continuing to do business with India, both in terms of making investments, but also in terms of using India, the relationships that have been established to grow global businesses. So if you look at large companies like Google, they have announced massive investments in India. Similarly, there are a lot of companies that are building data centers in India. They see India as like a future, large economy. And so American businesses want to engage with the Indian economy for sure.
Okay.
Similarly, in the US, there are a lot of business opportunities, even on this side. So just this week, for example, since I'm based in Texas, I'll give you a Texas example. Reliance announced a massive investment into a Texas oil refinery. And so President Trump actually spoke about that. And so there are lots of business opportunities. Now, what I've given you are examples at the large kind of corporate level, but there are also a lot of smaller opportunities, right? So Indian businesses providing certain services to American businesses, or American businesses providing certain services to Indian businesses. Medical tourism, we're starting to see growth in that sector, for example, of Americans coming to India for certain healthcare types of needs. So there is some opportunity there. Obviously, tourism on both sides is growing as the number of Indian consumers who are, wanting to travel across the US and the world is growing. So there's so many opportunities in so many industries. I think the sky is the limit in terms of the number of opportunities that are available for Indian entrepreneurs and American entrepreneurs and business leaders who are looking to do business in either country.
ఓకే. శిరీష గారు మీరు అంటే ఫ్యామిలీని, పిల్లల్ని, కమ్యూనిటీ సేవ టోటల్‌గా ఎట్లా బ్యాలెన్స్ చేస్తున్నారండి?
So that's a good thing. Let me go back a little bit into my history. When I initially started 20 years ago, my first platform that I built, I was pregnant with my elder one, Dhanush. So that's when I got into business. So it was like growing two kids at the same time. It's like twins, right? You have to spend time with your born child and then the platform that you're building. And then with the second one and whatever. So what I used to do is every time, because both of them need my attention, so I used to carry my laptop everywhere. So I used to take them to classes and carry my laptop, work there, and I used to balance out, adjusted my time so that I'm with them after school. Atla. Now with the community thing, my kids are grown up. One is in college, one is in 11th grade. So I don't have to spoon feed them. So I get to grow a new kid, a new child, like a new mom. So I'm able to spend more time, and I'm fortunate that I'm able to do that. If it was like 10 years ago, would I be able to do the same thing? Maybe not. But I think one thing, if new parents or the younger parents who want to spend time in the community, I would say take the kid along with you, drag them along. They will cry for some time, but then drag them so that they will understand what the parent is doing, right? So మనం ఏదైతే చేస్తామో పిల్లలు అదే ఫాలో అవుతారు. If not today, tomorrow they will follow. And I've seen that. So if you take them along with them, it will be like together you're doing something, and they will also know, oh, my mom has done this, my dad has done that. So maybe in future I will also do a similar thing. So the one thing I would say is bring them together. Like you take the kids, to work one day, right? So similarly, atlane తీసుకెళ్తే then you'll be making them part of the community.
ఉషా గారు మీరు చెప్పండి. హౌ డు యువర్ ఇనిషియేటివ్స్ ఎంపవర్ వుమెన్ ఎకనామికల్లీ మ్యామ్?
Okay. So as I said to you, the village woman came to me and they're like, let's do something for us. So the similar time, there was a person named Jagat Shah. He was, in Chicago traveling to, work on for the India, how to make the smart cities and smart villages. So I met him, I talked to him and he's like, yeah, let's start something for your village if you want to. So, and then I had a meeting with everyone. He was part of the meeting and he started guiding us. So I said, what do you guys want to do? What do you know? What can you do? And they said they know how to make, the chivda, right? So they say, okay, some chutneys and chivdas, they said they know how to do it. And I said, okay, let's start with that. So that's how we started. So we started with that and started selling in the India. We do a lot of stalls, in all the big cities, small places, wherever we get a chance. So I kind of mentor, I invest, I guide, I market for them. So it started doing like that, in 2018. And then I started bringing the products here through the air. So, and then we started selling here. So I used to do a big store. So I work on the weekdays and on the weekends, along with my husband and children, I do the booths and I do sell, so a lot of products. So, that's how they're getting financially. And I have never, did any kind of, profit for myself. 100% profit were given to them. So I'm very happy to tell, since 2018 to 2022, I think we were able to, give them a profit of $25,000 to some 17, 18 ladies were working with us. And now they're like, because that time we used to get work only for the festival times. So they're like, how can we work and, get this, going, every month or something like that. So we added few products. We started trading the few products, because whatever they make was not used by everyone. So we started trading few products and now I'm very happy happy to tell that we are trading few products, and in this last 2 years, again another 10,000 has been given, and I work only with the farmer women who are doing sustainable farming. So basically, save soil is our mission. Currently we are working on 85 acre of land, where these women do 100% sustainable farming under the guidance of Pani Foundation. So I work with them. They do the good thing for the our soil, and I sell the products. Whatever the profit, they get it. So now it has grown. Now we are like a group of 75 farmer women in India, and here we are almost 35 people like me who have come forward to start helping me. So now we are growing, and the dream is to keep continue doing this one and help them financially grow.
Oh, super. Nilima garu, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so great question. So many people want to be entrepreneurs today, and the biggest thing that any entrepreneur has to understand is, what problem are you solving? If you are going to create a product or a service for society and you want it to grow to the point where you make a profit, the question you have to ask is, what problem are you solving for society? You have to know who is the customer who has this problem for which you're creating a product or a service. And once you identify that group of customers, you have to talk to those customers, understand the nature of their problem, understand the scope and size of their problem. So
Yes.
that way, when you are building the product or the service that you're providing, you can build it with all of that in mind, so that you're actually helping to solve the problems. And hopefully, if you solve it well, the profit will come from the solution that you've built. So it's really that. I think Sirisha Garu talked about that when she shared how she was building her companies. It's exactly the same thing. You have to understand, what is the gap, what is the problem that you're solving, and be very curious about that problem. Know the data surrounding that problem. How many customers have this problem? What is the nature of that? All of that is very important for any young entrepreneur who wants to start a business.
శిరీష గారు, అంటే ఫ్యూచర్ లో యువత కోసం మీరు చేసే కొత్త కార్యక్రమాలు ఏంటి మ్యామ్?
మేము చాలానే ఇనిషియేటివ్స్ తీసుకుంటున్నాము. లైక్ ఐ సెడ్ ఎర్లియర్, సీనియర్ డే కేర్ స్టార్ట్ చేద్దామని, చారిటీ క్లినిక్ వి హావ్ ఆల్రెడీ వర్కింగ్ ఆన్ ఇట్, ఇవన్నీ. సో అండ్ దెన్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ కమ్యూనిటీ వర్క్. బట్ one thing I want to add mainly for the kids is teaching them how to be kind.
Okay.
All this work, everything automatically will pick up if they know how to be kind to each other. That is the biggest thing that we sometimes feel that that is not taught, right? Kindness anedi by nature vachestadi anukuntamu, but that's not the case. Kindness and then inclusivity, including everyone, gathering people together, ఇట్లాంటివి కామన్ థింగ్స్, ఇట్లాంటివి కొన్ని క్లాసెస్ పెట్టన్నా ఏదన్నా పెట్టి నేర్పిస్తే, దెన్ ఆటోమేటిక్లీ కిడ్స్ విల్ లెర్న్, ఆర్ ద నెక్స్ట్ జనరేషన్ విల్ లెర్న్ హౌ టు బీ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద కమ్యూనిటీ అండ్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ అ బెటర్ కమ్యూనిటీ, ఐ వుడ్ సే.